This episode is proudly supported by East Coast Beverages.
So my name's Samuel James Lentini. Really what's special about East Coast Beverages and about what we do is that we are vertically integrated. We grow, we squeeze, we bottle, we blend everything here on site. And not only that, I think what is really special is that all of the bars and restaurants and hospitality venues, they're able to come and visit our site. And once they come to our site, they see what our process is and they can actually see that the lemons, limes and oranges are all getting squeezed here, where we're not using a concentrate that comes from overseas. What is really special is that we invite people to come here. We have events here, and we're a family business, and we're able to really just work off the foundations that my grandfather built many years ago and continue a quality product range.
For more information, go to eastcoastbeverages.com.au.
A good day is having guests who are so passionate and happy to be there with you that I feed from their energy and they feed from mine. So it's this beautiful conglomeration of people being passionate about food and tasting and being together doing it.
Hi there, lovely people. It's Dani Valent here with you, and we are doing Dirty Linen. I am coming to you from a very delightful studio today. I am looking at the Greek islands as we sail in the Aegean Sea on our way to Istanbul. Dirty Linen is on Oceania Vista. We are coming to the end of an extraordinary 12-day Mediterranean cruise, and it's a cruise of culinary luminaries. We've had a lot of guest chefs on board, and we've had the privilege of being in the cooking school with the chef instructor Lori Powell, and Lori is our guest today. Welcome, Lori, to Dirty Linen.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I've just had the pleasure of a lovely couple of hours in the kitchen with you, this extraordinary beautiful kitchen at sea, or cooking school. We've made dishes from Morocco and Turkey, a bistilla. You showed me how to use brick pastry. Tell us a little bit about your work with Oceania.
Well, it's an incredible opportunity. I'm coming up on 2 years with Oceania, and also just exceptional. I have the best view in an office because my office faces the ocean. And we have a huge kitchen, and I have a lovely staff that make me look good every day. And we have lovely guests that we get to teach who inspire me as well as I hope I inspire them to learn cooking techniques and to be better in the kitchen and feel more comfortable in the kitchen, and to learn tips and taste flavors and wine pairings. It just runs the gamut. It's just an exceptional experience. And a lot of people, when they leave, say this was the highlight of their cruise. And it happens, they say it so often that I do have to believe them.
I would definitely believe that. I think one of the pleasures of your office is that it is moving to many different wonderful destinations around the world. How does that play into the way that you run the classes?
Yes, so that's an important key, and it's a good question, because wherever we do go or move to, we try and pair it with classes, whether you're there already or you're about to arrive, so that you get a taste of the flavor, such as the case here in the Mediterranean. We've been doing Cradle of Civilization, which is basically covering, Turkey and Morocco, and then prior to that was Greece when we were in Greece. So we try to give you and whet your appetite of the area you're about to be in. And it's quite successful, and people learn a lot, because actually the best way to experience and immerse yourself in a new country is via food.
Absolutely. It's definitely my philosophy. How do you research? Do you get in amongst it in the destinations? Are you talking to people? How do you put these dishes and these themes together? It's
really a combination of things, and not unlike when I was at Gourmet Magazine, where I'd be handed a story to do, and then I would develop that story. And it might have been an area that I've never been to. So I do a deep dive in research, and then I call around to anyone that I know has been in the area, if I haven't been, or I can't get there prior to getting there myself. So basically that's what I do. And in a lot of cases now, since I am coming up on 2 years, I've been to a lot of places. So I have enough taste of it and enough knowledge that I get the sense of what the country is about, what the flavors are about, and what it has to offer. And that is a jumping off point to just want to know more.
And what's a good day at work for you in this kitchen? You know, you must have people of all different abilities and, you know, skill levels, interest, backstory coming into the kitchen. Like, what is a good day for you when it all comes together?
Yeah, that's a good day is having guests who are so passionate and happy to be there with you that I feed from their energy and they feed from mine. So it's this beautiful conglomeration of people being passionate about food and tasting and being together doing it. Is a really happy day when you get someone who said, you know, I never would eat lamb, and you just made me make lamb, and now I can't stop eating it. To me, that's success.
That's so
to
great.
turn someone around like that.
Yeah, it's such a way to break down all kinds of barriers. Lori, you mentioned Gourmet magazine, and you have such a storied career before you came to Oceania a couple of years ago. Give us a little taste of all the other things that you've done. And yeah, we can go for 5 hours.
Yeah, yeah. Not necessary. I'll give you the highlight is basically I started out, went to cooking school. I had an advertising career prior at McCann Erickson. And ended up on food accounts, ironically. I guess I was always loved to cook, loved to entertain. And I had a roommate who would come home from work and she said, oh, who are you having for dinner? I go, no, it's just me. And, you know, it'd be an appetizer, main course, and a dessert. And she'd be like, oh, can I join you? I say, absolutely. So cooking, and also I have 4 brothers. So I learned to cook very quickly because my mother was a decent enough cook, but let's just say not as experienced. And so I just learned, just wanted to get in the kitchen, and I wanted to eat better. And I was really interested in ingredients and food. And my brothers would eat anything. So I always felt successful. So when I was in advertising, I decided, no, this is really not what I want to continue to do. The industry was changing. And I thought, okay, well, food's my passion. They say if you do something that you're passionate about, you will be successful. So I'm just going to throw all the suits away and the pumps and then never looked back. And I've never been happier. So my first real job was to be working at Gourmet magazine. I mean, I did work at cafes and some restaurants, but this was a solid job, and ended up being Sarah Moulton's sous chef for 6 years. And she was the most gracious teacher and incredibly experienced woman that I ever could have, hoped for. And she was one of the first female chefs on Food Network. And then after that, Martha Stewart called, and I went and headed up Martha Stewart Living and worked on the other magazines at the same time. And then Ladies Home Journal called, and I thought, I've never even thought of that genre of magazine. And coming from advertising, all that, the demographics and all that helped me. Like, who am I marketing this magazine to now? So having that background helped. So had 3 great years at Ladies Home Journal, and then Real Simple called, and I went there. And then I started my own food styling business and did that for years. And then someone pulled me out and brought me back into the corporate life at Rodale. And I was the head of Prevention Magazine for food. But I also worked for Dr. Oz Health Magazine on the side, doing freelance projects while I was doing the food styling as well. So I always developed for cookbooks as well. So all the gourmet cookbooks I helped with and styled. I ended up becoming the head stylist at Gourmet Magazine just by, because they liked it. They thought I was the best one at it. So that's how that part of that happened. Because who knew about food styling when I got into food? I didn't know about it. And it just kind of fell into my lap. So, and then I did TV, did food for TV, and was a private chef, had a catering company. So it just runs the gamut. And here we are now. But during that entire time, I was taught. I brought Sheriff's Strength to the Hudson Valley, which is No Kid Goes Hungry. and taught children food and nutrition as well as seniors. And while I was at Gourmet, we had small cooking classes hands-on. And then Sarah had 2 small kids who I was her sous chef. And she didn't want to go on the road, so they set up this program of bringing Gourmet on the road. Hence, it was me, because I didn't have children, and so I would be teaching and doing demos in front of 300, 400 people, and then also represented magazines on TV as well. So that's about, the whole. And then Oceania called and said, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And I said, I love teaching. If it has teaching. And I said to my mother a funny story to backtrack when I was younger. I said, I don't know what I want to do. I do like marketing. She said, you should be a teacher, because she always wanted to be a teacher. And I said, oh God, no, I'm not going to be a teacher. But once you become passionate about something, you want to share that passion. And that's where the teaching angle came in.
Right. Well, I can definitely see your passion and all the depth of knowledge. There's like about 1,000 threads that we could pick up on, but I would love to talk a bit more about magazines. Food media has changed so much over the decades. Yeah. Like even to hear about, an in-house food stylist on a magazine. I'm not exactly sure what it's like in the US these days, but that would not be the case in Australia, where you have people on staff who are, recipe testing in that way. Can you just set the scene for us? Like, what was it like?
Gourmet was a gift. That to have that as my starting off point, being Sarah Moulton sous chef for 6 years, and then the editors who I did, the head of the test kitchen, I did her food for TV, also prop styled it, and she asked for me to take a food editor's job, and they had to ask twice. Second time I had to say yes. And basically that's a magazine that was around from 1940, and it was the boot camp of recipe style, recipe writing, recipe development. So I learned from the best, let's put it that way. And there were 9 of us. So you would be trying someone's mussel dish at 10 a.m. in the morning. And just the camaraderie in that kitchen. Jonathan Gold was there. He had the office next to me. We had brilliant people there. Ruth Reichel was ruling the mast, when I was, I actually left and she was still there, obviously. And Lori Powell, just really brilliant people that I got to work with. So I kept pinching myself, that's all I can say, because I had such talented people who drove me forward and impassioned me. And honestly, I am still learning in food. There's still so much to learn, and I think that's what keeps you in the game, is that if you like to learn and you're open to it, it's, you just can't stop.
Yeah, I love that too. I just love that feeling of ignorance in it with a new cuisine or a new destination, or, someone's spin on something. It's just like, I just love being a beginner all over again. Yeah,
it's enlightening. And that keeps happening to me. Even guests will say, have you ever thought of this? Or, oh, I know of someone who did this. And I'm like, I've never heard of that. And how fascinating is that? And then you go and you research it. And you're like, oh my gosh, that is a thing. So sharing knowledge is a large part of it. And when I was at Gourmet as well, I got to meet a lot of international chefs and chefs within the United States as well. So it really opened a lot of doors for me to do other things as well. Food styling being one of them. And Gourmet, as you were saying, you don't know of many places that had an in-house food stylist. Each food editor used to style their own food, and then they slowly realized that not everybody either was good at it or liked doing it, and hence made them not good at it because it made them too nervous for whatever reason it is. Everyone has a skill set. And then we had an in-house photographer who photographed everything, Romulo Yanis, who won several awards. So Gourmet was very unlike a lot of other magazines, and it really was family. Real family.
I think food styling is one of those misunderstood professions.
Yes.
Like, tell us about it. Like, how do you describe it to someone who's never heard of it as a real job?
Yeah, it's and interesting because recipe writing too, everyone thinks they can write a recipe. There's a whole strategy. It's like how people can write a story. Recipe writing is completely different. But again, it has its own technique and way to approach it. Food styling is basically you're a short order cook in a sense, but you're the one running the shoot. Like everyone thinks it's the photographer or somebody else or the art director. Yes, of course, their input is, important, but it's timing. It's getting as many shots as you can done in a day, perfectly done. And so you buy all the food and you make sure it's pristine and gorgeous, and then you have to learn how to keep that food fresh. Say it's a 7-day shoot. And then you have to run out and buy replacements and things like that. But literally, you're cooking in a kitchen, making that perfect plate of food. And the reason it has to be more perfect than a video or a TV is because the camera doesn't move. It sees way more than a moving camera does, and less is more. So you're always putting less styling in it, like not over garnishing, not over putting a huge amount a huge amount of food on the plate, because it just, clutters it. So it's having all those notes, and it's like painting on a plate. The only thing with food styling is, everybody eats it, because I do more editorial style. I've done the commercial end of it too. I've done, commercials as well, where you have to use some other techniques and crafts to get that done. But editorial style is though I'm cooking dinner for you, but I know how to cook something so that it'll stay fresh in front of the camera.
And are you cooking it with the thought of the angle, the photography angle? Like you thinking this will be from above, this will be from the side?
Yep, absolutely. Good question. You always work with the photographer first and say, how are we shooting this? And then I help with the selection of the props. I'm like, no, that plate's going to kill the dish. Or that white is too white, or this color would do much better. No, we don't want a rim because we're shooting at 3/4 and it's going to become all about that rim and things of that nature. And then how I style it on the plate is according to the angle. And generally, sometimes you do a kind of a rehearsal one. I didn't really do that often, but sometimes you did. Certain photographers like that. So you do a rehearsal one and you take a look at it and you go, okay, the next one, I know what I need to do.
And is there anything that you would do differently from a dish that you were just presenting to someone simply to eat? Like are there sort of...
Absolutely. It's completely different. Completely different. And that's why when I've worked with a lot of chefs, and we're talking like really big chefs, they're like, well, why do I need a food stylist? I'm feeding people every day. I'm plating the food. I'm like, yes, but that's in front of them. This is a camera. The lens sees just so much, and it sees a lot more than that person actually who you're sitting. And the angle is different, and the lighting is different. So it's very, very different.
And with the commercial shoots, I mean, these are the ones where you hear, it's not ice cream, it's mashed potato, things are glued down. Like, did you ever get in any of those kind of scenarios?
Yeah, I did, not with the fake ice cream, because at one point there was, and I'm not quite sure where we're at now with that, but there was a rule made that if it was an ice cream product, it couldn't be fake ice cream. And I did do an ice cream shoot with real ice cream, and I will never do another one. Let's just put it that way. It was 7
never work
days.
With children, animals, or ice cream.
Yes, 7 days of stress. And also our freezers went down.
No.
So we had to quick call Dry Ice Company, and I had to have 3 perfect scoops for 60 flavors. So I don't know how I kept my arm, honestly. It was, that was an interesting one. Then another one was a candy bar, and this was a full-on commercial set where it was a warehouse, and there were grips and all these different people. And it was a candy bar, and they wanted it to, when the person snapped it, that the paper would release and the bar would snap perfectly, all at the same time. So I developed, because I'm good with set design and things like that, just naturally, like I'm mechanically inclined. Don't ask me to fix anything, but I had to figure out a way how that wrapper could snap, and also how that candy bar at the same time would snap. And I did figure out and develop a way. But the problem is they sent me candy bars via the mail when I was testing it out, and the candy stuck to the wrapper. Uh-oh. So I first had to figure out how to release the wrapper from the candy bar. So they wanted someone to do a perfect bite once the model, they came back with the model with the perfect bite. I tried so many people in the room, it ended up being me because I have an overbite, and that ended up being the perfect bite. But the only problem is I'd sprayed the inside of the wrapper with WD-40 so that it would release So here I am biting candy bars that had, anyway, yeah, I lived.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty tough day at the office, but the ingenuity is, extremely
But
impressive.
I loved that part.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I guess maybe I could go into crafts.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think the whole food thing's working out, so maybe
Yeah, those days are over.
So let's talk more about recipe writing because, there's so many more ways of disseminating recipes than there were, a decade or two ago. What kinds of, do you have any views on that? Like, do you feel like the art of recipe writing is perhaps less appreciated than it was?
I don't think people understand what goes into it. And it's really, the way we used to teach it at Gourmet is you're standing in front of the stove and pretend the person knows nothing. So you're starting at, basically zero. And then you start writing the recipe, but you have to get someone from point A to point B the quickest way possible with the least amount of equipment. So there are all those things in your head. And, at Gourmet in the beginning, we had full-on sentences. We had all the pages we wanted. And then everybody wanted shorter recipes. So that really affected the way recipes were written. And I think it's still affecting it. Though I do think there are new magazines coming out now that have, there's one I just subscribed to, which I won't say the name, and they're using more of a conversational tone, let's say.
Yeah, well, I think I think about Elizabeth David or some of those classic writers where it's really a conversation with the reader with, all these, sub-notes and narratives and where she ate the certain dish and how you might have it differently in the next village in France or whatever it was. I think
exactly.
I suppose in that sense it's about making a connection with a reader and building that sense of trust. But I think there is nothing as demoralizing as trusting a recipe that just doesn't work. Like you sort of get left hanging halfway through. You're like, but hang on, what do I do with the cheese?
And that's that would be not good. But one of the other things is we used to hold your hand at Gourmet when we had all the words that we could use. And I think they're getting back to that more so now. And there are authors that you trust because their recipes are tested. So that's the other thing is people will publish books, recipes online, people who do, blogs and podcasts and things, and they'll post a recipe, but it hasn't been tested. And what I mean by tested is not tested by you, the person who created it, just like you can't edit your own material. I mean, you can for the first time, obviously, but then someone else needs to look at it because you're not going to see the mistakes. Or that in your head you know how to do it, but you haven't told that person yet how to do it.
Yeah, you've skipped a step that you think is obvious, but someone else might not. So I think, that's so interesting. I suppose a lot of things are done in such a rush these days in all different kinds of publishing, whether it's self-published on social media or in traditional media. Things are things are tight, resources are stretched, so things do get done in a rush. And people are often restricted with word counts. I think it does make a difference. Anyway, so Lori, you love cooking, you love teaching. What kinds of things do you love to cook yourself? Like, do you still take pleasure? Are you still that person who will cook for yourself and do an appetizer and a main course and a dessert?
Probably fewer desserts. And I have to make sure that there's someone around to eat that dessert because otherwise it falls on me. But if I'm having people over, I'll do the full Monty. And for my mate and myself, I will. He said, this doesn't have to be a big production tonight. But I feel like every chance I get to cook, it's either to just experiment on my own, just like what is in the fridge or what is in the market. We have beautiful green markets up by me. And so I get inspired by that. I go to the market and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm making because that looks amazing and I have to do something with it. Cookbooks inspire me, and I have hundreds. I had to get rid of a lot of them. That was heartfelt because I have a 200-year-old house and the books were about to bring the house down. It was just too heavy and too many. And I was like, I can't read it, But I still am buying cookbooks. And Diana Henry, every time she comes, Claire Thompson, I think, is brilliant. There's so many good cookbooks out there. And if you've cooked from someone's book before, you want to cook from it again because you've realized, like, oh, they're good. And they have twists on things that you haven't thought of. So I love to read cookbooks. And I don't often follow them exactly, the recipe, but you can tell if it's a good recipe or not. If you've been in the business and you've written recipes for years and years and years, you know when you look at something.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what sort of liberties do you take with a recipe?
Well, if I don't have something else, I know what to substitute with, or sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know if this will work, but let's give it a whirl. And sometimes those are the happy moments, because a lot of recipes were mistakes. The really good ones, like the molten lava cake, was a mistake. So many things were a mistake that ended up being like the beloved recipes now that people have. So mistakes are good.
Yeah, that's a really good lesson for people to carry forward. I mean, what are some of the things that you feel like people really should know about cooking? Like, what sort of, rather beyond the recipes, like what sort of messages about cooking do you love people to take home with them?
Well, yeah, and it also takes certain personality too to love. I love every aspect. I love supermarkets. I love stores. So anytime I'm in a new country or a new town, it could be, my sister-in-law's house. I'm like, oh my gosh, that market looks amazing. They won't go with me because I'll spend a couple of hours in there and then I'll come out with, a booty load of things. But I love the whole process, from the shopping to see what something, an area has, to the prep part. To me, it's my form of therapy, and that's what I did when COVID was around. I did the whole sourdough project because I needed a schedule, and sourdough has a schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, I gained a lot of weight from it, but, and I also realized I wanted a lot of comfort food during that time. But, so the prep part to me is soothing. I'm kind of like the tennis player. If I'm not in the kitchen often enough, I'm like the tennis player who hasn't been able to, get to a court, or the runner who hasn't run. And they're like, I have to go for a run. I have to cook. I have to get that itch out. And I love feeding people too.
Is it calming for you to cook?
Yes, very calming. Very calming. I just love the whole process. And I love improving my knife skills or skill set in any level. So yeah, for me, and that's a challenge. That's like a competition with myself. Like how quick can I get to chop this brunoise, and do I still have that, because when you're not cooking all the time, like in quantity, like I did when I was working at Gourmet or Sarah Moulton Sous Chef, you tend to get a little slower and maybe a tad rusty. So when I'm at home, I'm like, okay, I gotta
saw you
speed it up.
chiffonading herbs over there, Lori. You still got it. We're heading into Istanbul, which is one of the world's great food cities. What memories do you have of being there? What are you going to be looking out for?
Well, the one tip I would say, eat as much as you can, shop around as much as you can. There is so much to see. It's tireless. I have not spent enough time there at all. I did take the train by myself first time I went there, and took a picture of a mosque because I was like, okay, this is where I know I need to get out of the train and where the ship is kind of docked. There were 3 of the same one. And the locals said, well, you only took a picture of the actual mosque. And I was like, well, yeah, I thought that was the important part. And they're like, but there were 3 of them. So note to self, always take photos as well. And also that keeps you grounded when you're coming back and you can't remember everything. And you go back to your photographs and it tells you the location, the date, and you're like, oh yeah, that was the name of that place.
Yeah, very handy.
I don't know what we did before iPhones, frankly, or camera phones.
Yeah, we got lost.
Yeah, we did a lot more.
Lori, such a pleasure to talk to you. I guess if you could leave one message to someone who wants to be more confident in the kitchen, like what would you tell them?
I would say just cook as much as you can and just practice. Knife skills are key because it just makes cooking so much more pleasurable to have good knife skills. So I would say concentrate when you're chopping anything, any small task, and just do that. Although don't let anyone know that you have those good skills, because at Thanksgiving you'll spend the entire time chopping for everybody else.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you. It was a joy.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtyLinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This